If you live in Africa, or if you are an African abroad, especially in the UK or the EU, you may want to sit down for this. Because something unthinkable just happened. And it didn't come from the West. It came from Africa, from Zambia to be exact. Imagine this. You have paid over $100 for a visa that you never got. You do it again. Denied. Again. Denied. And you are not alone. Hundreds of thousands of Africans face the same situation. You realize you are part of a silent system siphoning millions of dollars from desperate Africans, promising access to a better life, but handing out rejection letters. It's not immigration. It's business. Cold, calculated business. But then something happened. One African leader decided to call it out, and not just whisper about it in diplomatic halls. He demanded the unthinkable, refunds, for every African rejected, with every dollar tallied up. And this time, it wasn't just about money, it was about dignity. The president of Zambia has done what few have dared: a direct challenge to Europe and the UK, and a wake-up call to the entire African continent. So now the world is asking, what just happened? And what does it mean? In this video, let's find out. It's easy to dismiss the visa denial scandal as mere bureaucracy until you realize how closely it mirrors the colonial mindset of old. Back then, colonizers invaded African soil and extracted minerals, gold, and labor, with no concern for the lives ruined in the process. And today, African citizens willingly line up at embassy gates, offering their resources, not gold this time, but money, identity documents, and dignity, only to be rejected without cause or compassion. But it's changing now. President Hichilema's demand was more than a diplomatic complaint. It was a philosophical indictment of a system that treats Africans not as equal partners in a global world, but as outsiders forever needing to beg for access. Visa policies are now just the modern-day checkpoints of a colonial gatekeeper. The language may have changed, from subjects to visa applicants, but the essence remains the same: exclusion, control, and profit. And this masked colonialism operates with precision. Africa is welcome when its students pay foreign tuition, when its tourists spend money in London or Paris, or when its nurses and engineers fill Western labor shortages. But for those who merely seek to travel, to explore, to learn, rejection is routine. And all the while, the West keeps the fees. And yes, if there is a colonial undertone to this process, there is also a capitalist one that thrives in silence. The visa system, especially in Europe and the UK, has become a silent but steady source of revenue. Every application represents a customer. Every rejection, a profit with zero delivery. No product, no service, just a "no" printed on expensive stationery. European embassies have become financial institutions that extract without refund, without responsibility. This is not about preventing illegal immigration. If it were, the process would be transparent. The rejections would come with clear reasons. There would be oversight. There would be appeals. Instead, it's a black box where the rules are invisible, the decisions are final, and the losses are entirely African. Some embassies process thousands of applications each month, many of them from first-time travelers who have never left the continent. These individuals don't just want to escape Africa. Many are artists, scholars, students, and innovators looking to exchange knowledge. But the gatekeeping logic sees only the risk of overstaying. The suspicion isn't based on evidence. It's based on race, region, and poverty. This is what Hichilema's statement pierced. He wasn't merely asking for refunds. He was asking why Africans are always presumed guilty of overstaying, of seeking asylum, of draining foreign systems while their money is still good enough to collect. It's a business model with no ethics, and until now, it has operated with no resistance. This is what Hichilema's statement pierced. He wasn't merely asking for refunds, He was asking why Africans are always presumed guilty of overstaying, of seeking asylum, of draining foreign systems, while their money is still good enough to collect. It's a business model with no ethics, and until now, it has operated with no resistance. What Zambia's president has done could easily be dismissed as symbolic. But history has shown us that all revolutions begin with symbols. A lone leader speaks, and frustrated people listen. Then something shifts. And maybe this is that moment. Across Africa, citizens are beginning to question the value of playing by Western rules. Why continue applying for visas that will most likely be rejected? Why pay embassies that won't treat you as a human being? And most importantly, why beg to visit countries built on the backs of African minerals and labor in the first place? What Hichilema has lit is not just a fire under Western immigration offices. It's a fire in the hearts of Africans who have long endured this quiet humiliation. If other African nations echo Zambia's stance, we may soon witness a collective pushback, a call to hold embassies accountable, to demand transparency, or even to initiate legal action for refunds on unjustified visa rejections. And maybe, just maybe, this will force Africa to turn inward, to build the schools that people want to study in, to invest in hospitals that rival those in Europe, to create tech hubs that don't require a London passport stamp. The energy spent chasing European visas could be redirected to making African passports mean something again. You see, the brilliance of President Hichilema's challenge isn't just in its defiance. It's in its disruption of something deeper: psychological slavery. For decades, Africans have been fed a steady diet of inferiority. From the colonial classroom to the TV screens broadcasting British accents as the gold standard of intellect, the message has been drilled in: the West is superior, its language, its lifestyle, its passport. So Africans obey. They practice the accent. They wear the suits. They aspire not to self-sufficiency, but to relocation. This is no coincidence. It's cultural engineering. French-speaking Africans revere Paris, see it as their Mecca. English-speaking Africans elevate London to the status of Olympus. And in between these dreams, entire generations have forgotten how to value their own soil, their own names, their own cities. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. The sad irony is that many of those who make it to these Western capitals find themselves trapped in the very poverty they thought they escaped. No support network, no community, no dignity, just silence, homelessness, and systemic racism. Some sleep in metro stations. Some work jobs far beneath their qualifications. Some never come home, not out of pride, but shame. And yet, the next generation lines up at embassies, clutching hope in one hand and savings in the other. That's what makes Hichilema's stand so radical. He didn't just speak against the visa fees. He spoke against the entire lie that Europe is worth paying to be rejected by. He reminded his people, "You are not ATMs for foreign nations. You are not the poor cousins begging at the colonial dinner table. You are sovereign. You are worthy. You deserve better." This never happened before, and you would expect such a bold diplomatic move to at least warrant a rebuttal or maybe a discussion. But Europe's response to Hichilema's moral indictment was something far colder. Silence. Absolute, calculated silence. There were no apologies, no refunds, no introspection, and certainly no change in policy. The bureaucrats at Westminster and Brussels didn't even flinch. They didn't have to. Because in their world, Africa is supposed to complain. Africa is supposed to cry foul and then go back to applying anyway. After all, the line outside the embassy never shortens. But silence in this case isn't neutral. It's a statement. It says, "We don't owe you an explanation. Your outrage doesn't affect our profit margins." It's the same silence that watched African treasures get stolen. The same silence that allowed dictators to rise with Western backing. The same silence that permitted centuries of plunder and then said, "Get over it." And so visa denial becomes more than rejection. It becomes ritual humiliation, a predictable, profitable machine that runs on hope and ends in despair, unchallenged, uninterrupted, and unchecked. But now, someone has checked it. Loudly, in public, in front of cameras, and the echo of that voice is growing. That echo now rings across every African capital. Because Hichilema's demand has done something many leaders fear. It exposed their silence. It forced a choice. African presidents now face a mirror they can't avoid. Will they continue sending their children to British boarding schools while telling their citizens to be patriotic? Will they keep seeking treatment in Swiss clinics while public hospitals rot? Will they watch their citizens sell family land for a visa, only to be laughed out of an embassy and say nothing? Or will they stand up? Because if Africa is serious about dignity, then the continent must lead by example. If a leader can't trust the schools he governs, he shouldn't be allowed to govern them. If a minister believes a French university is the only path to knowledge, then he should not run education back home. Leadership must begin to mean staying, building, enduring. And this is the turning point. This isn't just about Zambia anymore. This is a continental referendum on vision. Does Africa want to be a client forever, or a force? Hichilema opened the door. What comes through it will define this decade. Imagine if the 70 million Africans lost in 2024 alone on failed visa applications were redirected. That amount could build several modern hospitals with cutting-edge equipment. It could fund scholarships, research, and infrastructure for new universities in Nigeria, Zambia, Ghana, or Kenya. Institutions so prestigious that even foreigners would apply to study there. It could seed smart cities, tech parks, and industrial zones that keep Africa's brightest minds at home. Why should a student sell family land just to go to a European school? Why should a cancer patient fly to France for treatment when Africa could have its own world-class centers? The issue isn't capacity. It's a priority. African nations have talent, ambition, and human capital. What they lack is the political will to break this addiction to the West. President Hichilema's bold stance gives us the opening. Africa must now choose development over dependency. It's time to stop validating European systems with African money. Instead, let that money circulate at home, invested in African lives, African progress, and African dignity. A continent that builds its own elite institutions doesn't have to beg for visas. A continent that invests in its own people becomes unstoppable. Africa must stop exporting its dreams and start funding them where they belong, on African soil. Because the future isn't somewhere to escape to. It's something we must create here, together. What do you think? Has the time come for Africa to stop begging for visas and start demanding justice? Should all African nations back Zambia and call for the billions stolen in rejected visa fees to be returned? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on whether this bold move by Zambia will finally force Africans to build elite schools, hospitals, and universities that rival the West. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs. Things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.